Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this discussion. My name is Istu Mattila, I'm coming University of Turku in computer department, and we have three distinguished guests here. We have a policy officer, Giulio Mancini. We have a General Mika Rytkönen and Professor Jaakko Järvi. Welcome to this discussion. Today we try to talk about the technological developments, what we need for border security. We don't talk too much about the policies. However, policies and technology development are a little bit linked. We have three parts of this discussion, so that I give a little bit kind of setting the scene where we are, what is the challenge in the border environment. And then we talk about, we have individual speeches, short introductions about the three sectors, from the Commission, from the Finnish Border Guard and research. And then we go to the questions and answers part where we can have audience views to these issues. And also we are following the chat, what we have online. And I will choose some questions over there. But going to the setting the scene, and talking about the R&D needs, we always need to understand where we are and where we stand in order to develop something. So that's why the background challenges what the border guarding have today in Europe and in Finland. There are three different big kind of elements, and I took these elements from the Frontex risk analysis. Recent risk analysis kind of a paper, which is, and for those who don't know what Frontex is, it's a border and coast guard agency by the European Commission in Poland, in Warsaw. And they have three elements. What is the big challenges in the future, what we have today? First is migration pressure and humanitarian crisis. What it means in practice, that it means that migration has been used sometimes also as a geopolitical tool. And we have instability in Africa, in the Middle East, which might be the problem for the Europe. And the one new one is raising, which is what happens to the Ukraine? What comes after the war? Where the war ends, do we have a migration pressure from Ukraine to the Europe? Second one about the challenges is about organized crime and the smuggling networks. It's a huge business around Europe. It's not only the kind of drugs, or it's cigarettes, it's arms, it's human trafficking, and those bad guys are using just same tools what the authorities are. They have all digital methods what we use in the law enforcement part. They use those fluently. And one special case today is that arms smuggling from Polish and Ukrainian border, it's growing heavily, as you can imagine, for the region. And the third one is new, not so new, but every policy document is talking about a hybrid. Hybrid threats are definitely some phenomenon what is difficult to kind of touch upon, because hybrid is meant for the policy decision making and building the mistrust to the society. And the hybrid is many long-term kind of toolbox for the third countries. And one of the most visible element on that is the disinformation campaigns. And everybody can read it from the internet, that how much fake news and false news they are circulating. Luckily, we have a research. We have, as a part of the research community myself, I've learned quite a lot about how we can improve the situation together with other entities. And research has a kind of guidance in European level done by European Commission. They have established the kind of body which is called Community for Research, European Research and Innovation for Security, CERIS. This initiative makes works with different security sectors, and one of those sectors is border security, as what we talked today here. What is the border security research about? First of all, we have to identify the gaps. which leads us, of course, to the research needs. So this is everyday work, and Commission building the new work programs, they need to understand what is the gaps, and then we have end users who are telling that we need this and this for the future, and that's what we talk today. Okay, second kind of research what we need to do is, of course, facilitating the collaboration. Border guarding is not in the bubble itself. It's linked to the many other elements, like other law enforcement authorities, researchers, other researchers. Industry is the main kind of making available the tools what the border guards need. So it's collaboration is very important topic. And what comes after the research? Of course, we have to think about innovation uptake. We put a lot of money, European money, our taxpayers' money for different type of the research. How to make them commercialized? How we can test and validate that we can go to the market on those issues, because they are too expensive if we only do it in one country. We have to look the market around Europe and globally. Globally means that this Horizon programs is not only for the capacity building, they are also building our global competitiveness for the industry. And of course, we need to look about how different tools are developing in the IT means, which means use of AI. That will come to the authorities. If not yet, it's tomorrow, and it's a big animal what we need to understand. And the last, of course, is standardization and certification. Sounds not so important, but actually when we go to the market and we want to understand that how we can sell these products to the third countries, Asia and US, we need to have a certification and standardization elements fully fledged done. So this is a kind of a background, and we are now understanding the situation about the same way. And now we have introductory short speeches about our guests here, and how we can see these issues for EU level, national level, and of course the professional research level. So I give the first floor to the Giulia Mancini, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Mattila and colleagues. And let me thank also the Europe-forum for hosting this panel and for giving the opportunity of bringing the perspective of the European Commission on European research and innovation for border security. As you said, border security innovation is maybe one of the best examples of where European collaboration and integration is both needed and impactful. Our European users, border guards, coast guards, customs authorities, need European solutions, technologies, available in Europe, by Europe, today and tomorrow. And so what does the EU do on this? So the EU has, since 2004, a dedicated program on research and development for civil security that includes border management, but also law enforcement, civil protection, protection of infrastructures. This is a program that in just over 20 years invested over 4 billion euros in over 800 research projects, each being an applied thematic R&D project bringing together on thematic-based designed by the Commission and Member States, bringing together the best European universities, research organizations, companies, users, and civil societies. A lot of today's European technologies in these areas have been developed also thanks to research and development funded by this program, including technologies developed by Finnish companies, including technologies used by Finnish users. Examples, advanced detectors for drugs or explosives, forensics technologies that police use for crime scene investigation, or platform used by coast guards, for example. And today, the EU is co-funding the investment for developing and researching solutions that may be needed in the 2030s and in the 2040s. However, there are also challenges. The research alone is not enough to make sure that new technologies arrive to the users. And this is also because the market for civil security and border security is very particular. It's different from other civilian commercial markets, and is also different from the defense market. It's highly regulated, understandably so. It's highly demand-driven by the users, and in Europe is also quite fragmented. And this is also why the EU puts in place methods and instruments and facilitations to link better research to deployment, procurement, testing and validation, etc., as well as networking initiatives like the CERIS one that you just mentioned. Compared to other areas also of European security, European border management is quite capability-based and increasingly integrated at European level. The EU is a customs union. The Schengen area is the largest free movement area in the world, which means that the external borders of Finland are also the external borders of Belgium, Spain, Greece, and vice versa. And this is also why we have the European Border and Coast Guard, which is made by the national authorities and by Frontex working together in one system under EU law. And part of the European Border and Coast Guard are also the Standing Corps, which is the first uniformed EU staff, up to 10,000 officers by 2027, which help member states. The Technical Equipment Pool, which is a pool of shared assets, quickly and easily deployable for rapid operations, and the Capability Roadmap. And for research, this last point is particularly important because it's an integrated planning tool for capabilities made together by member states and Frontex, planning capability needs also in the long term, right now until 2037, which means planning together procurement, but also planning together research needs, which the EU then takes as input. Another crucial point is strategic autonomy and technology sovereignty. It's also been mentioned earlier today by my vice president. We need European solutions. We cannot afford, as Europe, to rely too much, to be dependent too much on non-European technologies for critical aspects like border security, because these technologies may not be completely reliable, or because they may be designed and developed not exactly aligned by European values. And this is another reason why European research on border security is needed, to make sure that there will be European technologies and knowledge also tomorrow. I also wanted to mention that many border security technologies are so-called dual use, which means that they can be applied both in the civilian area and in the military area. And by the way, they can also be applied in various civilian security aspects, not only border security, also protection of infrastructures or civil protection, for example. So this creates opportunities for efficiency that may be underexploited, and where the EU is introducing tools to be more efficient. For example, the Strategic Technologies for Europe platform that funds across the board areas like digital technologies and space technologies. But we also need safeguards on dual use, especially in the civilian application part, to make sure that civilian applications only have civilian characteristics to respond to the needs of civilian users. And for example, research, our program on civilian border security research only funds civilian applications, also of dual use technologies. So where do we go from there from the EU perspective? So right now we are continuing funding research and development in Europe for European border security of the future. Right now we have calls open that fund the research on the future surveillance technology, the future technologies for the security of identities and facilitating the travel across borders, and the future technologies for security of goods and trade, scanners, for example, and also on interoperability of different systems. But looking even more ahead, Just last month, the Commission presented the proposal for the new multi-annual financial framework until 2035. And this will be a game changer on many aspects, both quantitative and qualitative, on how EU funds are programmed and spent by and in member states. One of the aspects that interests our discussion that have been introduced is the continuation of Horizon, the research instrument, and expansion, more funding to Horizon, but also the introduction of the new European Competitiveness Fund that does have also a window on security and resilience, and that promises to integrate and facilitate the movement between research and innovation to upscale, uptake, and competitiveness and industry. So the EU is providing sustained investment on research for border security, a strong European border and coast guard, a commitment to technology sovereignty in critical areas, as well as a careful approach to technologies that are often very sensitive and applications that are very sensitive. This is all very important for the European security of the future, but also for its competitiveness and its resilience in general. And the three things are very much connected to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. All seems to be quite nice in the Commission side or from Brussels' point of view, but how does it look like in the Finnish eastern border? Mika, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I bring a national and the Finnish border guard perspective for this discussion. First, about the border security in Finland. The border security situation in Finland, it has changed a lot during recent years. At the eastern border, all our border crossing points are closed now, have been since 23. Situation itself, today it's calm, but it's hard to predict what it will be tomorrow, next week, or next month. If I look the situation from the perspective of the Finnish border guard, the current main threats for the border security and internal security is instrumentalized or weaponized migration, other hybrid threats such as damaging critical underwater infrastructure, and then environmental disaster at maritime domain, accidental or man-made. One big risk is shadow fleet, which is navigating at Finnish Gulf area. There are several vessels delivering oil products to non-sanction compliant buyers. These vessels are lacking flag state, or it's unclear what kind of insurance policy they have. Sometimes they are in bad condition. Also spoofing of vessels identity and routing is problem. There is elevated risk to a major multidisciplinary maritime disaster with oil spills, loss of lives, border incidents, damage of critical underwater infrastructure, or even escalation to a military clash. Well, EU member states, they have competencies to respond for threats at their borders. And European Union, it has supported member states to build resilience, capabilities and preparedness by union funding, enhanced multipurpose operations and dedicated union-led initiatives. And this is very important. So member states, they have competencies, responsibility. EU and its agencies are supporting us. Going to the these technical developments, what kind of technical developments and innovations we would need? Some have been identified. So we would need AI-supported surveillance systems. We would need drones with resilience for GNSS and GPS jamming. We would need tools for analysis work. Satellites are needed for complementing general situational picture at borders, and also for specific needs such as identifying specific targets or looking for sites. Also, we would need tool for responding hybrid threats, such as how we can detect if somebody is damaging our critical underwater infrastructure, how we can counter unmanned aerial systems. We would need better non-lethal weapons for crowd handling, etc. These kind of innovations we would need. Well, I'll stop that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. So a lot of research needs seems to be there. Jakob, can we answer to that?
It was really my viewpoint is I'm a professor in computer science originally, but now I'm dean of the Faculty of Technology, a mid-sized research organization doing engineering research, and now coming into this discussion with the viewpoint of how should this type of a research organization respond to the new state of the world in a way, where the security concerns are much more concerning. And it was interesting to listen to this list and realize that we have ongoing research on all of these, practically all of these topics, but not necessarily or primarily on the motivations are something different than security, on drone research and so on, or AI, or researchers want to do other things completely with these. They have other applications in mind. But the reality is that these new technologies that are, powerful AI is only a couple of years old. Drones are not that, widespread. Drones are not old. Just when we are starting to have applications that are supposed to do good to people, deliver parcels and so on, couple weeks later we are seeing drones used to smuggling and all kinds of smuggling weapons and cigarettes and whatnot. So really the question becomes, should the research community respond, change its priorities in a way? And I think the answer is to an extent yes. And then it becomes a question: how should the researchers take it use what they're working already on, and maybe retarget or take on new application areas and start to answer new research questions. In a way, it's easy. Research is pretty self-guided. Researchers, in a way, do what they want, but they are guided by. People tend to be guided by relevance, and they want to answer questions that are relevant, that are meaningful in their research. And I think we live in a world where what is relevant has changed. In a purely safe society, in a very safe society, we could start from the top of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and research is guided by our need for self-actualization. But unfortunately nowadays the need for security is much more relevant, and this will guide researchers. So then it's up to the societies. European Union has a big role in that to make it so that if people focus their attention on security research, it is possible to have an academic career, a researcher career this way, that there's funding available so that you can sustain research in this area. So yeah, it's interesting. I think we should target more research to this area, and it's what has been the situation already in say cybersecurity for many years. It's a big race. Like, you know, new exploits, people find ways to do harmful things, and then the research community has to respond. And there's a pretty rapid cycle already in the cybersecurity, but now that's coming to the physical world as well. New technologies, drones, AIs, and so on come up, and then bad ways of using them come up very fast. And we have to get this same kind of response cycle into this area as well.
Thank you. It seems that we are in the middle of the complex world. We will talk on the border security, and this border security research needs to be organized better in the future, I guess. And it's not only the will, it has to be some purpose on this. So we maybe talk about that later. This, because this is not only the talking heads, we want to talk about the audience, what kind of questions may come from these introductory speeches. I think we could give the floor for questions and answers time, but if you may, I start with the one so people can think about their own questions. So I start with the one about the timing. So we have a research programs, we have programs from the Commission side, and they are written today, but implementation starts next year, and they are final after 3 years. In the same time, development of the different technologies are kind of booming, and they are coming kind of much faster. How we can keep this research in the right time to the right target and to the right people? How to organize it faster, because the world is running ahead, and we need to do faster research as well. Anyone who wants to take this one?
Well, I could try. It's not an easy one, this question, but somehow if the aim of this kind of like a work programs could be threat-based, like that you describe a threat like GNS, GPS jamming, for example, and then the researchers try to find the best solution for that using the latest state-of-art technology for that. Maybe not trying to find specific technology or because it will be outdated quite soon, but describe a threat or some kind of capability and then try to find and get the newest innovation. Could be.
That's a good idea. Julia, this the division of the different topics in the work program is done a bit differently today. How does it sound if we start to talk about threat-based research?
Well, first, I couldn't agree more. And I also have to say that our is one research program, is the EU research program in this aspect. There are also national programs. There's also private research investments, even if in this area, of course, it has to be demand-driven. So not necessarily our model works for everyone. It is true that we are trying more and more to move towards a capability-based approach, also on how we write the topics for research, which means trying to, together with the users in Europe, to say, okay, we need to invest in research and studying on, for example, being able to minimize the false positive and false negatives in detection. So that on the sea, for example, for a vessel or for a container, that you have you open all the bad containers and you let go all the good containers. But you don't have to check to know. How can you do that? That's the capability. And then the researchers may come with great ideas on using software, maybe AI, using blockchain, using new sensors. And then it's also a matter of the science part and the scientific part to make sure that we are investing taxpayers' money on something that's actually worth investing, because it will be ahead of the curve, and it wouldn't happen if we don't invest to have European innovation there. But it is challenging to think in that way, rather than just say, we need a new drone.
Well, Jaakko, I want to ask about this freedom of research.
I could
Now we talk about
to this.
Okay.
So I think this is interesting. I mean, researchers are typically, research groups are a hammer. Like there's one theory that they spent their lives building on, and they want to apply it to different things. So this competition-based, this type of capability-based, say funding competitions, which would be fast-paced, might be an interesting thing. So people could come with different approaches and apply them to the same problem, and they would all be maybe there will be at least seed funding for many. So that would be slightly different, because these funding cycles are one of the slow things is that the Commission figures out where should we spend money on. That takes a year to come up with those topics, and then research groups send applications, and then they're evaluated, and all this takes another year, and then technology has already advanced. So it could be more of these open calls, open funding, and then maybe spice it up with these types of competitions. An interesting experiment, maybe.
I like these open topics are coming more and more. Problem is a little bit also about the funding. I come back to the funding, but this if we have a very well constructed needs and research requirements, that will kind of go out of the freedom of the research a little bit, because that means that individual researchers might go to that side, but the authorities go to that side. So how we make them to talk the same language? How we deliver the needs to the and the interest for the researchers? What these guys do have?
Through interaction, we need to have events where people can learn what the needs are, and like I said, people want to work on things that matter. Why would you work on a security solution for something that is not of interest, that's not solving a real problem? Then it's just communicating those problems and spreading the word. Like I said, we have many potential security researchers who don't know that they're sitting on know-how and technology that would be very applicable.
Yeah, there are lots of different research institutes in Europe. In some countries, they really talk very much to the stakeholders, but in some countries, it's kind of only for education. Yeah. So that we can't make everything put the same pocket. That they are really different approaches on those.
Yeah, maybe I can continue a bit more on this. So we are in a process of forming a center or network of security research in Finland, with seeking building a network and identifying researchers who are already operating in this area, and talking to different institutions of higher education in this part of the country, but elsewhere as well.
Yeah, I think this collaboration is benefiting all of the participants. Maybe we try to get some questions from the audience next, and when I see from the website, we don't have very much, but there's at least one hand over there. Please start.
Hi, thank you for the interesting introductions. I'm Elias Koskinen from Young European Federalists of Turku, and my question pretends to basically how to break into the defense industry sector and how it relates to research and development. Yesterday there was a lot of talk about how there is great difficulties to get into the defense market as a dual-use company that currently is only in the civilian sector. I would like to hear everyone's perspectives on how should we balance the safeguard requirements for dual-use technologies and capabilities with needs to rapidly deploy these technologies to the field as well.
Thank you. That's a good question. Before you think about your answers, I would say from my own experience that security needs or defense needs, they are closing to each other. Many times the same technology can use dual-use ways in the both sectors, but they are living the different life in the EU level, and how to break the silos, or do we need to break the silos? That's the other question. But definitely not the easy question, and I know nobody don't know the right answer. But what are your opinions? Maybe we start with Julia, because you are in the headquarters of the research.
Yes, so thank you for the question. It's definitely a big question. So the EU, since more recent years compared to civil security innovation investments, also started a common European defense research and development funding and industrial complex funding and cooperation. The European Defence Fund also has a window on research and innovation. And that's separate from the innovation policy and research investments and a lot of the discussion on the civilian aspects. It's different because they are in different programs, also because there are different characteristics, because the civilian application have different safeguards as well as different needs in terms of applications. Performance safeguards, including ethical safeguards, etc., for the civilian applications. Now, the synergies that are needed and the dual-use aspects are especially at the relatively lower technological development levels, where technologies are more neutral in terms of application, and that's where we should improve how potential for applications should be identified and facilitated. So I made two examples earlier, digital aspects and space technologies. Space technologies were also mentioned earlier as examples that can be useful and should be useful for border surveillance, which is a civilian task, like satellites. And of course, there are many needed applications also in the defense and the military tasks. So that's a good example, and that's somewhere where we're trying to invest and facilitate more. We also have examples of European companies which tested moving some products from the purely civilian aspects to the military applications, but certainly there are still less than the other way around, which is more classical, let's say. But as technologies also become more accessible, examples of AI and autonomous systems are good examples, we could see a bit more of these facilitated synergies between civilian and defense.
What about, Mika, Finnish border guard has defense tasks as well. So in Finland, I think we have very used to think about in the two hats in your organization. How you feel inside your organization about these two funding environments? Is it too heavy for you, or can you be part of both? How it looks in practice?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do not have a clear answer for your question, but we as authority which is carrying out tasks, civilian side, law enforcement, maritime security, and also hard defense tasks, because since we are part of the Finnish defense system, we are using both, and we are like maybe mix using those, but yeah, this is maybe it's easier to us than for defense forces, which are mainly focusing these hard military tasks.
Yeah. You are kind of broken the silos in the way inside your own organization. Jaakko, this dual use civil military research requires different demand from the researcher when they apply applications goes, and every application has a different requirements. It makes difficult to university to handle all those things because there are no common coordination in EU level.
Well, certainly, I mean, there's enough bureaucracy and enough things to get through, sending just ordinary research applications, funding applications, and then having the extra compliance to all these rules is a lot of work, and typical universities do not have the competencies to deal with these.
Yeah, so it's easy to say that it just apply, but the reality is difficult because you have to learn about a background and documentation. And it's difficult for the in practice level. Good. Some answers we got. In the middle, Caroline.
Hello, thank you for a very interesting panel. My question is more focusing into the civil security. I'm kind of curious because in the introduction we talk about, you mentioned the problematics that trafficking, organized crime, hybrid disinformation. Then we come to technologies, and then we are thinking of these technologies that are often used by the end users who are actually the people working in the borders, I mean the professionals. But my question now goes, as time evolves and as you had mentioned, technology is more immersed with everybody, I think the line of disinformation is quite key, but it comes to all the EU citizens. I mean, how the EU citizens can be part to keep the security, I mean the civil security at European level. Then my question will be perhaps for for all of you, but for the Commission, which are the visions to actually start to create a soft power of the EU to actually involve not only the professionals, but all the community to help to keep us secure within Europe, but perhaps also out of Europe. I don't know if that goes a little bit. It's not only the technology what I'm trying to talk about, but technology with end users, which not necessarily are only the professionals who are taking care of us, but all of us together.
Good. That's a challenge. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I mean, yes, indeed, it's a bit broader than just what we were discussing until now, but it is very, very relevant. So first, it's true. I, for example, and we mentioned technologies a lot, and maybe it's not the best way. It's not the technologies are not the only product of research and studying and research and innovation, including those that our program funds. A lot of results from research is knowledge, methodologies, new manuals, let's say evidence-based knowledge. Then some of it also is technology, hardware, software, but not all of it. Our part of the EU Research and Innovation, the one dedicated to civil security, mainly is defined by the fact that funds the studying and developing of solutions that will eventually be used or could be used by civil security users, like border guards, coast guards, police, etc. There are other areas of EU research that fund a lot more of social research. But even in our area, there are some topics where civil society has to be and must be much involved. For example, on disinformation, of course, but also on civil protection, for example, on engaging the society and preparing the society on how to be prepared to a threat, a disaster, which may also be intentional or be a hybrid threat, etc. So yes, we spoke a lot of technology and users, but not only that. In terms of soft power, also earlier today, it was mentioned the Democracy Shield, something that the Commission introduced in August or earlier this year, also to engage citizens on aspects of misinformation, for example. And regarding soft power, specifically on research, the Commission also introduced in Horizon Europe, Choose Europe, to try to attract talent retain talent and attract it from also other parts of the world to choose European universities.
Societal safety and security is instrumental tool for any research what we do in the future. Unfortunately, we have a lot of nice questions, but our timing is now ending, and we can't take any more questions. But let's give a big hand for the speakers, and thank you very much for audience.